On the quiet planet of Ilmara, the trees stood tall and silent. Wind moved through the leaves, and strange blue birds flew across the sky. There were no cities here, no people, just wild land and silence. This planet was chosen for an important meeting. 3 great alien empires had sent their princesses to talk about peace. These empires had been fighting for years. Now, for the first time, they were sending their royal heirs to meet in secret. A silver ship landed gently in a green valley. The door opened, and Princess Zellara stepped out. She was from the Valerie Empire. Her skin was silver blue, and her eyes glowed like stars. She wore strong armor, but her movements were graceful. She looked around carefully. She trusted no one. Soon another ship arrived, dark and sharp like a knife. Princess Nuvani of the Drex Empire walked out. Her people were known for their warships and pride. Nuvani had dark red skin and short silver hair. She crossed her arms and gave Zellara a cold look. "Velari," she said. Drex Zellara replied. They didn't smile. The third ship came last. It looked almost like a flower opening in the sky. Princess Illyra of the Shinari Empire walked down slowly. Her green skin shimmered in the sunlight, and she moved like a dancer. She smiled gently at the others, but they didn't smile back. All 3 princesses had arrived. But something was wrong. "Where's the signal?" Zellara asked. "The meeting center was supposed to send a beacon." "There's nothing," Nuvani said, checking her scanner. "No sign of our security teams either." Illyra touched the groaned and whispered softly in her language. She looked up. "Something is hiding. The land feels ... afraid." The 3 princesses looked at each other. Their guards had stayed behind, as agreed. This meeting was meant to be secret and peaceful. But now, the silence felt dangerous. "We should leave," Zellara said. "Wait," Illyra said, pointing toward the trees. "Do you see that smoke?" In the distance, black smoke was rising from the forest. It was thin but steady. The princesses followed the smoke, walking carefully through tall grass and thick trees. Their scanners didn't pick up anything at first, but then they found it. A broken escape pod lay half buried in the dirt. It was small and scorched. Pieces of it were scattered nearby. The pod was not from any of their empires. "This is human." "Technology?" Nuvani said with surprise. "Human?" Zellara asked. "What would a human be doing here?" The hatch was open. Inside they saw a figure covered in torn armor, bleeding and unconscious. He looked strange to them, pale skin. Short dark hair, a scar across his cheek, a name tag on his armor read, "Captain Elias Rook." "He's injured," Illyra said. "He needs help." "We don't help humans," Nuvani said sharply. "They're weak. They keep to their little planet and speak of peace while the galaxy burns." "This one crashed here," Zellara said. "That's not a coincidence." Suddenly, the man moved. He groaned and opened his eyes. His hand reached for a weapon, but he stopped when he saw them. He didn't panic. He didn't scream. Just stared at the 3 alien princesses standing in front of him. "Who are you?" he asked, his voice rough. Zellara stepped forward. "That's our question." "I'm Captain Elias Rook," he said. "United Earth Defense. My ship was attacked. I escaped before it exploded." "By who?" Lyra asked. "I don't know for sure," he said, coughing. "They jammed our signals. We were tracking something. A threat. Not one of your empires." "What kind of threat?" Nuvani asked. Elias looked at them, his eyes sharp despite his pain. "Do you know the name Graxos?" The 3 princesses froze. That name was only whispered in secret halls. Graxos were not an empire. They were shadow machines that could take forms, hack systems, and disappear. Many didn't believe they were real. "You're lying," Nuvani said. "Graxos are a story." Elias shook his head. "I've seen what they do. They destroy from the inside. If they're here, your meeting is already in danger." Zellara frowned. "Why should we trust you?" "'Cause I'm the only one warning you," he said. "And I didn't come here by choice. I crashed here after fighting them." The 3 princesses looked at each other. For the first time, they were unsure of what to do. Illyra stepped forward and touched Elias's arm gently. We cannot leave him. If what he says is true, this planet is not safe. Or he is the danger. Navani said. Zalara sighed. Either way, we'll get more answers if he lives. Help me carry him. Together, they lifted Elias out of the pod. He winced but didn't complain. He walked with them slowly, leaning on Zalara for support as they moved back toward the clearing. None of them noticed the small red light blinking in the grass behind them. It came from a strange metal insect crawling near the wreckage. It watched them leave. Captain Elias Rook walked slowly, his arm resting on Zalara's shoulder. Every step hurt, but he didn't let it show. The three alien princesses moved quietly through the forest, watching him closely. Zalara led the way, calm and sharp. Illyra walked beside Elias, glancing at him with curious eyes. Navani followed behind, her hand near her weapon, ready for anything. They reached a rocky ledge overlooking a small valley. A waterfall poured into a clear pool below. It was peaceful, but Elias didn't relax. There, he said, pointing to a flat area under the trees. We can rest and check the scanners there, but keep watch. The Graxos may already be tracking us. Nuvani narrowed her eyes. You speak of this enemy as if you're sure they exist. Why should we believe you? Elias sat down with effort and looked up at her. Because I've fought them. I've lost friends to them. They're real. And if we don't work together, you'll lose more than friends. Zalara knelt beside him. You said they destroy from the inside. What does that mean? They don't fight like us, Elias explained. They don't use fleets or soldiers. They use machines, small, hidden, smart. They infect systems, control tech, even copy living forms. They create confusion first, then they strike. Illyra gasped, like shadows. Exactly, Elias said. This planet is perfect for them. Quiet, isolated. No one would know if something went wrong. Here. Navani crossed her arms. You could be lying. This could be a trap. Elias met her eyes. If I wanted to harm you, I wouldn't be bleeding in front of you. I wouldn't warn you. I'd already be doing it. There was silence. Zalara stood. Whether he lies or not, we must find the truth. Our meeting was secret. Someone knew we were coming. That means someone wants to stop peace between us. Illyra looked at the human. Then maybe he is not the problem. Maybe he's the answer. Elias reached into a pouch on his belt and pulled out a small, cracked device. This was my squad's beacon. I've rerouted it to act as a scanner. It still works barely. He activated the device. A faint hologram appeared above it, showing the map of the area. There were red dots near their position. Life signs? Zalara asked. No. Heat sources moving fast. Could be animals, but could be something else, Elias said. We need to move again, Nuvani said quickly. But Elias raised a hand. No. Running will only get us spotted faster. We hide. Set a false trail. I'll show you how. The princesses looked at each other. For years, they had seen humans as weak. Simple. But this man, injured and alone, was giving orders like a commander. Strangely, they were listening. Together, they made a plan. Elias showed them how to leave fake tracks using broken branches and false footprints. Lyra used a small drone to drop a piece of Elias's armor far from their camp. To confuse any tracker, Illyra covered their camp with energy-dampening plants from her world, which she had carried in a pouch. Navani placed motion sensors around the area. Although she still didn't fully trust the human, as night fell, they lit no fire. They sat under the trees, eating survival rations quietly. The stars above were bright and cold. Elias sat with his back against a rock, holding his weapon close. Zalara sat nearby, her eyes on the horizon. You don't look like a normal soldier, she said. I'm not, Elias replied. I was trained for missions behind enemy lines. We survive, gather intel, disrupt threats, and your squad, she asked. Gone, Elias said simply. Our ship was ambushed. We were tracking a signal something strange. Turned out to be a Graxos trap. Zilaron nodded slowly. You are strong. Not really, Elias said. Just used to being afraid. And doing the job anyway. A few feet away, Illyra and Nuvani whispered. He seems honest, Illyra said. Or clever, Nuvani replied. That's what makes humans dangerous. You think they're weak until they surprise you? Illyra smiled faintly. Isn't that what bravery is? Suddenly, one of Nuvani's motion sensors blinked red. Everyone stood up. Movement, Nuvani whispered. For targets. Closing in. Elias grabbed his weapon and crouched low. Get behind me, now. The princesses hesitated, and no one had ever told them to hide before. But something in Elias's voice made them obey. Shapes moved in the dark. They were fast, silent, and unnatural.
Ow.
Their forms were thin, with sharp limbs and glowing eyes. Not animals, not soldiers. Graxo's drones. Elias fired the first shot. What? Drone exploded in sparks. Zalera followed, using a pulse blade to slice through another. Nuvani covered Illyra as the third drone leaped forward, but Elias tackled it midair and crushed its head with a heavy metal bar. The fourth drone tried to flee, but Illyra hit it with a wave of sonic energy, and it shattered into pieces. Silence. Returned, Elias stood slowly, his arm bleeding again. They're scouts. That means more are coming. Zalera looked at him with new eyes. You were right. Nuvani nodded. We have to warn our people. Elias shook his head. No signals. We'll get out. The Graxos blocked transmissions. If we want to survive, we stay together, we fight smart, and we move before the main swarm finds us. Illyra stepped beside him and lead us, human, for now. And so, the three alien princesses, heirs of ancient empires, followed a wounded human soldier into the dark forest because he was no longer just a problem. He was their only hope. The forest grew darker as the group moved deeper into the hills of Ilmera. Captain Elias Rook led the way, his body tired, but his mind sharp. The three alien princesses followed closely, their eyes watching every shadow. There was no moon in the sky. Only the soft glow of stars guided them. Elias stopped near a rocky slope and raised his hand. We'll rest here for a moment, but stay alert. Zalera scanned the area. The ground is solid. No signs of movement nearby. Illyra touched a stone and closed her eyes. Earth here feels cold. ... but safe. For now, Nuvani crouched beside a tree. Can't run forever, human. Sooner or later, they'll catch us. Elias nodded. That's why we stop running. Start preparing. He knelt and opened a small pouch from his belt. Inside were a few broken tools, wires, and small energy cells. We'll set traps, he said. Small ones. Not to kill, but to slow them down and reveal where they're coming from. You want us to fight with scraps? Nuvani asked. Elias gave a half smile. I've stopped bigger threats with less. You'd be surprised what works. When you use it right. Zalera knelt beside him. Show us. For the next hour, Elias worked quickly. He used stringy plant fibers, sharp stones, energy nodes from damaged equipment, and parts from the destroyed drones. Zalera and Nuvani helped build pressure traps and motion alarms. Lyra spread special shNary spores in the air, which would glow faintly if anything passed through them. The forest became their shield as they worked. The princesses watched Elias closely. His movements were careful. His plans were smart. He never wasted time, never hesitated. He's not like what I was told, Nuvani whispered to Illyra. Humans are strange, Illyra replied softly, but maybe that's their strength. Natalie. Zalera raised her hand. Silence. The trees swayed gently. A low hum vibrated through the air. Elias stood quickly. Something's near. Before they could react, three sharp figures dropped from the trees. Graxos, drones sleek, black, and fast. Their limbs moved like blades. Their glowing eyes locked onto Elias first. He fired instantly. One drone exploded. Lara leapt forward and blocked a strike with her energy shield. Lyra sent a wave of sound, throwing the second drone off balance. Nuvani used her blade, too, cut through its chest. The third drone dodged and charged Elias. He ducked, rolled and stabbed it with a broken piece of drone metal. Sparks flew. The machine hissed and collapsed. The air was still again, but Elias wasn't smiling. That was a test, he said. They're checking our defenses. How many more are out there? Lyra asked. Too many, Elias replied. And they're not just hunting, they're learning. Zalara looked at him. Then we must act before they do. Elias nodded. There's an old ruin nearby. I saw it on my scan. It might have stronger walls and power sources. We go. There, we fight from strength, not from fear. They moved quickly, guided by the fading map on Elias's broken device. After a long walk through narrow paths and broken trees, they reached the ruins just before dawn. The structure was made of black stone and metal. It looked ancient but strong. Vines covered most of it. There were strange symbols on the walls, writing none of them could read. What is this place? Zalara asked. Elias walked inside carefully. I don't know. But it might have been built by an early alien race, maybe even before your empires existed. Inside the ruin, they found a large chamber with high walls and a broken energy core. In the center, Elias examined the machines. This could work, he said. If I can get this energy node working, we'll have light, defense, maybe even a signal boost. Can you do it? Nuvani asked. I'll try, he replied. Well, Elias worked on restoring power. The princesses explored the rest of the ruin. Zalara found a control panel with ancient tech. Ilara found small plants growing under strange lights. Nuvani discovered a hidden passage that led to a chamber filled with crystals that softly glowed. Hours passed. The energy core hummed too. Life, dim lights flickered on, and the ruin began to feel like a fortress again. Elias stood, his hands covered in dirt and wires. It's not perfect, but it'll hold. Suddenly, a loud noise echoed through the forest. Boom! The trees shook. Then another sound dashed closer. Boom! They've found us, Zalara said. They're coming in force, Elias added. This is it. He looked at each of them. Royalty. Your empires need you. You don't have to stay. We do, Illyra said firmly. You're one man, Elias, Zalara said. But your courage is greater than an army. I won't run, Nuvani said. Not from machines. Not today. Elias smiled for the first time in days. Then let's give them a welcome. They took positions. Zalara controlled the defense. Shield Illyra stood near the center to amplify the sonic traps. Nuvani took the high ground with a long-range plasma rifle. Elias stood at the front gate with only his pulse, pistol, and a pocket full of grenades. The first wave came fast, dozens of Graxos drones, crawling over trees and rocks. But the traps worked. Explosions lit up the forest. Sonic blasts threw drones backward. The spores revealed invisible attackers, glowing in the air like fireflies. The team fought with everything they had. Zilara's shield held strong. Ilyara's waves of sound cracked metal. Nuvani's shots hit with deadly aim. And Elias moved, like a ghost com, quick, can deadly. But the Graxos kept coming. More and more. Elias was hit in the shoulder, but he didn't stop. He threw his last grenade and pulled out a fallen drone's blade at the final moment, when it seemed they would. Be overrun, the power core inside the ruin flared. The defense systems activated fully. A bright wall of energy burst from the ruin's center, sending the remaining drones flying. Silence fell. The Graxos had been pushed back. The ruin stood tall. The team stood inside, bruised, tired, but alive. 4. The first time, the princesses looked at each other not as enemies, but as allies. They looked at Elias, not as a human soldier, but as something more. A leader, protector, a spark of unity in a galaxy that had forgotten what hope looked like. The ruins were quiet now, but the air was heavy with tension. Captain Elias Rook sat on a broken stone bench, tending to his wounded shoulder. His breathing was steady, but his eyes never stopped watching. The 3 princesses gathered nearby, each lost in their own thoughts. Zalara broke the silence first. You saved us today. Your tactics, your comets, unlike anything I've seen. Elias gave a small nod. I only do what I must to survive. Illyra approached carefully. We have fought for centuries, yet today it felt like you taught us how to fight anew. Nuvani's arms were crossed and her face remained stern. Humans speak much of courage, but it is more than words. You proved it with your actions. Still, how can we trust one man, a stranger from a distant world? Elias met her gaze without flinching. Trust is earned, and I don't expect it overnight. But if we want to live, we must find a way. Stood, we cannot afford division now. The Graxos will not stop. They will come again stronger. Illyra nodded. Perhaps this is not just a test of battle, but a test of our unity. Nuvani sighed, but said nothing. Suddenly the ruins. Entrance echoed with a soft noise. All eyes turned. A small figure stepped inside. It was one of Elise's scout drones, battered but alive. It had found something. Elias quickly connected the drone to his device. The hologram flickered, showing a map with new red dots spreading. Across the forest, they are preparing to attack again. In larger numbers, Elias said quietly. Zilara clenched her fists. We must act fast. Illyra looked thoughtful. We need allies. Alone we will fall. But how can we unite three empires that have long been enemies? Nuvani's eyes softened. But we don't have a choice. The Graxos threaten all life, not just ours. Elias stood, his pain forgotten for the moment. This human soldier has no empire to protect. I fight for survival, but you carry the future of your people. You must decide if that future is together. Zilara's voice was steady. I will speak with my council. But first, we need to prepare. That night, under the dim lights of the ruin, Elias taught the princesses more about human combat strategies. They trained with energy weapons, learned how to set traps, and practiced moving silently through the shadows. Illyra surprised them with her natural grace. While Nuvani's precision was deadly, Zilara's leadership was clear. Together, they began to build trust not just as allies, but as friends. Hours later, Elias looked at the three princesses and said, Tomorrow, we fight not just for ourselves, but for every being who wants to live free. The princesses nodded, their eyes shining with new hope. Outside, the forest waited. The enemy was coming. Dawn broke over the ruins of Ilmara, painting the sky with soft pinks and oranges. The forest was still quiet, but Captain Elias Rook and the three alien princesses knew this calm would not last long. The scouts had reported new movements. The Graxos were gathering forces, preparing for a full attack. It was time to attend to fight smart. Elias stood before the princesses, his face serious but determined. We can't win by brute force. The Graxos are too many, and they're machines. Adapt quickly. Zilara nodded. Then we use the ruins. Turn this place into a trap. Illyra smiled faintly. We have technology and knowledge that can help. Shh. Nuvani crossed her arms but said, We must act now. No more waiting. Together they formed a plan. Elias took charge of the strategy, using his military experience to organize defenses. Zilara and Nuvani gathered alien weapons and supplies, while Illyra used her knowledge of plants and energy to create special traps. The princess's guards, called in secretly, arrived and began fortifying the ruins. Walls were repaired, energy fields strengthened, sensors placed in every corner. Elias moved through the ruins quickly, checking each device and fixing what he could with the broken parts he had salvaged. We'll need explosives, he said. Small ones, placed where the Graxos will pass. Zilara agreed. I will place them near the entrance tunnels, Nuvani added. I will prepare long-range weapons for the walls. Illyra gathered plants that released thick, sticky pollen to slow down the enemy. Hours passed as the team worked tirelessly. Elias showed the princesses how to use human devices, how to set timers and triggers. It was the first time the three alien heirs fought side by side, each learning from the other and from a human soldier who had become their guide as the sun began to set. The ruins looked different, more like a fortress than a forgotten place. Elias gathered everyone in the main chamber. Tomorrow we hold this place. We fight not just for survival, but to send a message that the galaxy's greatest powers can stand together. Zilara looked at Elias, respect clear in her eyes. Your courage and mind have changed us human. We are ready. Nuvani smiled for the first time since they met. Let the Graxos come. We will show them strength. Lara's voice was soft, but strong. For peace. For life. Night fell. The team took their positions. The first Graxos wave was silent and fast, creeping through the forest with deadly precision. But they did not expect the trap. Explosions shook the ground. Traps sprung, catching the enemy off guard, slowed their movements, and sensors fired lasers that burned and disabled. The princesses fought with fierce energy. Zelara's shield blocked attacks while she led soldiers forward. Navani's rifle fired steady bursts, picking off targets at a distance. Illyra used her sonic power to break enemy machines. Elias moved through the battlefield like a shadow calm, focused, striking where it hurt most. The fight was brutal. The Graxos adapted and changed tactics, sending new drones and even some larger war machines. But the defenders did not falter. They worked as one. Hours passed. The ruins echoed with the sounds of battle explosions, shouts, energy blasts. At one point, Elias was hit again, but he pushed through, inspiring those around him. As dawn approached, the Graxos began to retreat. Their swarm was broken, their numbers smaller. The ruins stood strong. The team was battered but victorious. Zealara walked over to Elias and placed a hand on his shoulder. "You saved us all." Elias shook his head. "We saved each other." Nuvani looked out over the forest. "This battle is won. But the war is not over." Illyra smiled softly. "But today, we are one." The three princesses and the human soldier looked toward the rising sun. Together they had forged a bond that could change the future of the galaxy. The battle was over. The forest around the ancient ruins of Ilmara was quiet again. Smoke rose slowly from broken machines and fallen trees. The Graxos had retreated, leaving behind the remains of their defeated swarm. Captain Elias Rook sat near the central stone of the ruin, wrapping a bandage around his arm. He was exhausted but alive. Across the field, alien soldiers from 3 different empires gathered. Once enemies, now allies. The 3 princesses stood together, their armor scratched and faces marked with the dirt of battle. But their eyes were calm, proud. Zalara of the Valari looked around. "We came here as strangers. We leave as something more," Navani of the Drex added. "Our empires have fought for too long. This was different." Illyra of the Shinari smiled gently. "And the reason is standing right there." Looked at Elias. He stood slowly, holding his helmet under one arm. "I didn't do this alone." Zealara stepped forward. "Still, without your guidance, we might not have survived." "You brought us together?" Nuvani nodded. "You fought like a warrior, but more than that, you taught us something. Even a single person, no matter their world, can be the reason for peace." A small ship landed nearby. A team of diplomats and commanders stepped out. Alerted by a signal Elias had finally been able to send using the ruins' energy core. The news of the battle had already started to spread. The Graxos had revealed themselves. And the united defense by 3 empires led by their princesses and a single human was a message to all. The alliance was real, inside the ancient hall. A meeting was held. Zealara, Nuvani, and Illyra stood before their advisors and generals. Elias stood beside them, quietly listening. "This battle proves one thing," Zealara said to the gathered leaders. "Our worlds cannot survive alone. We must share knowledge, resources, and protection." Nuvani added, "Not just against the Graxos, but to build a future without war." "The old ways must change," Illyra said. "We propose a new alliance, a galactic defense pact, and we ask that humanity be a part of it." There was silence, then slow agreement. One by one, the leaders saw the truth. Old hatred had brought nothing but death. But unity shown on Ilmara had brought victory. After hours of discussion, the alliance was approved. The Galactic Defense Pact was born, and Captain Elias Rook was named as its first ambassador. Later, near the glowing night sky, Elias walked along the quiet ruins. Zealara approached him. "You are not just a soldier now, you are a symbol." "I'm not sure I'm ready for that," Elias replied. "None of us were ready," she said, "but we rose when the time came." Laia joined them. "Will you return to Earth?" Elias shook his head. "Not yet. There's still work to do." Navani. "A appeared last, arms crossed, as usual. Then we stand together once more. The four stood in silence, watching the stars. 4 leaders, 4 worlds, and 1 forgotten planet. Now remembered forever as the place where peace began. In the days that followed, the ruins of Ilmera were turned into a memorial and a command base for the new alliance. Messages were sent across the galaxy, calling for unity, trust, preparation. And at the heart of it all was the story of 3 alien princesses. ... One human soldier who changed everything, because sometimes it takes just one person to remind the universe humanity never gives up, and when humans fight for what's right, they fight for everyone.